Hello. Hi, I'm Andrew Lindy, and I'm currently serving as the Secretary of the Board for the After School Arts Program, also known as ASAP. ASAP was founded 21 years ago in 1999, and today we serve nearly 10,000 students throughout Connecticut each year. And tonight is very special because it's our very first celebration of young game designers. Now, when I joined the board a few years ago, I really had a chip on my shoulder to bring, some game design curriculum to ASAP, and this is kind of what I dreamed up. And we've got an awesome committee that I put together to help me with this event. And joining us tonight are two of those committee members, and Alexia and Brian. Can we get them on the line and let's say hi to them? So I think they're here now. So hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Andrew.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
How's it going? Thanks for joining, guys. So Alexia and Brian were team leaders of our Game Jam teams, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Right now, I just kind of wanted to start with asking you guys a couple questions. So Alexia, how did you get into game design, and what kind of led you there?
Well, for game design, I kind of fell into it by accident. My partner is more into programming, and he was doing things relating to game design and brought me to a few events, and I ended up just falling in love with it. And ever since, I've started just making games for fun and getting really involved in like the New York City community, especially.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for being here tonight. So Brian, how did you get your start into games?
Hey, yeah, I do game design, and I've been doing game design for quite a while now with the Sheep's Meow, and I didn't get into it professionally until much later, but my first sort of entry into it was actually in middle school when I programmed a game on my graphing calculator in math class, and I actually got in trouble for it because it was a distraction. So I'm really glad to see here that pursuing game design is accepted and promoted and encouraged for the students.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot different. I'm sure back then you had your teacher telling you you're wasting your time, plugging that game in the calculator, and now here we are, and there's a lot of awesome careers in the game design field, and there's programs like this for kids to get into it, and a lot has changed. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Celebration of Young Game Designers was all about, and we had a submission process. We had a lot of different steps, and tonight we're going to kind of show you the process that we went through to get to the two games that we have created at this point. And so what I'd like to do first, though, is it takes a lot of people to create a game, and also to create a program like this takes a lot of help from a lot of talented people. And I'd like to show you the rest of the committee that helped us out with the Celebration of Young Game Designers. So I'll show you that right now.
I'm Andrew McNamara, also known as Mackie, and I am a doctoral student and researcher in educational game design. And I got involved with game design because games are so interactive and free from the rules of the real world that there's really no limit to the type of experiences you can create for someone else. You can make someone feel happy or scared or accomplished. You can let them try something they've never done before, or you can just make an experience that's fun that also happens to teach them something very important. And that opportunity to create an experience that somebody really wants to engage with is why I got involved with game design.
Hi y'all, I'm Ii, and I'm really happy to be a part of ASAP this year. I have been involved in game development and design for a few years now, and throughout my time in the industry, I've found that there are so many really creative and amazing people to collaborate with, and that's what's really made me stick with it. And I'm really excited about this ASAP Celebration of Young Game Designers event because I think it really gives you a peek into all the different facets of game making. Whether you're interested in art or programming or design or just really want to be on social media all day, all of those things are important components to this industry, and regardless of what you're interested in, there's always a place for you here. So I'm really excited that you're getting your first introduction into making games, and I really hope you all keep at it.
Hi all, my name is Henry. I've been a software engineer for about 5 years. Started getting into game development in about the last year or so, working in Unity. I was really excited to get involved with ASAP in this project because it was really cool just to see everything come together and see all these brilliant submissions and see these young people getting a jump on working game development so early. I, for one, sort of wish I had started on this journey a little bit earlier in my career, so it's exciting to see other people getting to do that. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thanks so much to our great committee for helping us out over the past few months putting this together. It was a pleasure working with you guys. I would like to mention that all of you watching tonight have an opportunity to join in something pretty cool. We're going to be putting a link in the chat right now that will allow you to vote on the theme for next year's celebration of young game designers. So this year we had a theme called Dream. And so all the students were required to submit a game idea that used that theme. Well, we'd love to get your input during the show tonight, and so you only have about 10 or 15 minutes to cast your votes, so make sure you go and do it as soon as you can. So what I'd love to talk about now is, there is so much that goes into game design and game development, and this program was just really a tiny snapshot of some of the elements that it takes to create a game. And so, I wanted to talk with Alexia and Brian kind of about the process. And, Alexia, when you think about the game design process, what do you think is a really important takeaway for, new game designers when it comes to the game design process?
I would say probably the most important is learning how to prototype your game. So really thinking about and trying to essentially design how it's going to work, because game design, unlike if you're writing a book or you're drawing a piece of art, you need to understand how is it going to be played, and really thinking about that and trying to create the essentially the guideline for how that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, prototyping is so crucial, and until you do it, it's hard to really grasp the importance. You can have people tell you all you want, but until you do it and you get that feedback, do you really understand? So Brian, when you think of a new game designer, like somebody who's just getting into this field, would you have any advice for them about, kind of the planning process and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would agree with what Alexia said is to prototype something and learn how to do that. The next thing, I guess, would be about communication and making your vision clear, because games are often made in teams, sometimes very large teams. So it's really important to be very clear about how things should work, what things should look like, maybe drawing some diagrams and explaining how the process of what happens after this and what happens after that. And being very clear about that kind of communication is really an important part of game design.
Yeah, because, you can have an idea in your head that might be perfectly, make perfect sense to you, but until you can get that on paper and share with the team, it's going to be pretty tough to get that game made. So what we'd love to show you guys now is, we created a series of educational videos that we released once every week for the 4 weeks leading up to this submission. And right now what we're going to do is show you a sample of some of those videos that we provided the kids.
Hey game designers, it's Jenna here with ASAP, and I'm so excited to be a part of Celebration of Young Game Designers, or CYGD for short. As an artist and designer, the first thing I think about when creating a project is what inspires me. Lucky for us, the CYGD committee has given us a bit of a jump start by assigning us the theme Dream. So let's talk about dreams and how they might translate into a game. There are two types of dreams. There's the kind where you fall asleep at night and weird, confusing, or magical things happen. There's also daydreaming, or what I like to call dreaming of all my possible futures. So your first job will be to choose one of these types of dreams as the inspiration for your game design. If you head to asapct.org/celebration of young game designers, you'll see that the list I've just taken you through matches up pretty well with some of the key submission guidelines. All right, guys, good luck. I can't wait to see what you make, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Andrew Lindy, board member from the After School Arts program, and today I'm here to introduce an exciting new opportunity from ASAP, which will allow you to become a game designer of your very own video game. Now, a lot of words used and techniques described for this program may be new or intimidating, but don't give up. We've created the following video to help you better understand the game design process.
Video game designers go through many work cycles before they're ever ready to fully build their game. No idea ever starts out perfect, and as you build parts of your game and see how players interact with your game, you learn a lot about what you should change. So, in order for you to become a video game designer yourself, it's important to learn what a video game design cycle can look like, and we're going to get into the details of each step, but for right now, let's just do an overview. So first, you'll check what requirements you may have to follow for the game you're going to make. You'll then brainstorm and write down all of your ideas of what your game could be like. Choose your best ideas and write down your plan for the game in a design document. You'll make a rough draft of your game, which is called a prototype, based on your design document. And then you'll ask people to play your prototype so you can find out what you might need to change. With the new things you've learned from watching people play your game, you'll start a new cycle and start making the changes you need to make your game better. And you'll keep going through cycles like this until your game is done.
Let's take a look at how you can make a prototype of a game just using some pieces of paper and something to write with. So, let me make the character that you can move around and the controls for the game. All I need to do is make a level, and that's it. I've already made a prototype for my game. All I have to do is make the object move like it would if you actually press the buttons in the game.
Game designing is fun. It's also pretty hard and it takes a lot of practice. Even professional paid game developers will still make mistakes. They'll still have to change ideas they thought would work, and sometimes they have to start a whole new game because the idea that they thought would work just didn't work at all. It's why the game design cycle repeats itself. It's why we do playtesting. We as video game designers are expecting that we're going to find out that we have to change something every single game, every single time. And so if things are not going exactly like you planned, don't worry, that just means you're becoming a video game designer. So good luck and have fun designing your very own video games.
That was awesome. So now I'd love to talk about the submission process, because this was a very demanding submission process. We really asked a lot of the students to just even submit to this celebration. And so anybody who completed a submission and sent it in, I just want to say congrats, because that was a lot of work. And it was a lot of terms and maybe processes that you were unfamiliar with. And so I just want to say congrats to everyone who submitted, because it was really quite an undertaking. When you think about the submissions this year, Brian, I know you were one of the judges. You got to review all of the submissions. Was there anything that stood out to you about the submissions that you reviewed?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there were so many strong submissions, a lot of really great work being sent in. Something that really helped with a lot of the submissions were really clear mock-ups and drawings of how they expected the game to look and feel, and also explaining their design goals, what they thought the player experience should be like. I think those were really helpful to read in the submissions.
Yeah, it was fun to see them all come through. A lot of variety in the ideas too. Alexia, what about you? What about the submissions? What was your takeaway from looking at all these awesome submissions this year?
I was just impressed just seeing how diverse and creative. You have students of all different ages really giving it their all and bringing really unique perspectives, and coming up with just interesting takes on the theme, and just yeah, all types of ideas. It was challenging to pick just two, just because there are so many, but I felt like the two that were picked really like showcased so much of what we were looking for to make it a really like successful game jam.
Yeah, I agree. And the just so everyone knows, our judging process is blind. We remove all of the student information from the submissions, and we use a scoring system. So we create different categories that we rate each submission on, and then we just tally the scores, and that's how our judging process is done. But right now, since there were some submissions that weren't selected for tonight, we'd love to show you some of the awesome submissions that we did receive this year. Awesome. So really great work. I can't stress enough, if you submitted this year, you should really give yourself a pat on the back. And if, we're one of the students that did not get selected this time around, definitely make sure you stay in the loop and be looking out for our materials when we open this up next year. So, we kind of touched on it. Judging is difficult in this kind of situation. And believe me, if we could make every game that got submitted in, we would definitely try. But that would be a little crazy, I think. But so Alexia, what did you find maybe difficult or kind of challenging about the judging process specifically?
I would say, again, it really is the aspect that you have so many different kinds of games, and games could be really hard to just get it to just a numerical what's better or what's a stronger design versus not. Every game has so much potential, and a lot of it is in the execution. So that is a challenge to really, decide on just a couple.
Yeah.
But it really is, I felt that we had a lot of clear elements of where we wanted to focus on to really what would work, particularly in a game jam format, because some games, they might be a much bigger concept, and that's harder to build in a short amount of time.
That's a good point. Yeah, I suppose, we didn't put a lot of information about scope necessarily in the submission process because, I think we had decided we didn't really want to overwhelm people with, what's that scope. And so we did have to kind of apply some of that through the judging process, I suppose, too. Brian, what did you notice about the judging process for this event?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was sort of a black box. We didn't know, we didn't know what the other judges were thinking or who was submitting what. So there were so many good entries that we didn't know what the final results were going to be. I think one thing that may have been a common thought was to sort of follow off of what Alexia was saying a little bit, was that a lot of the strongest entries may have been very strongly focused on one core main idea. I think that was the way the students' original vision came through the strongest, and yeah, that was my observation.
Yeah, it's just, especially like you mentioned, Alexia, in this format, we really have to be targeted, and we can't, be kind of going all over the place, which, as you get later in your game design career, you can have some bigger scope. But yeah, it definitely stood out, the students that were able to really pinpoint their ideas and communicate them, super clearly. I agree. So now we have kind of a really fun segment that we'd love to show you guys. And so, we'll have everyone can do a little home drum roll right now, and we're about to announce the 2 top selected students who had their games created in a weekend, a game jam weekend, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But right now I'd like to show you the action of having these games created.
I would like to tell you, out of all the submissions, the judges have selected you to be one of the top 2 games that they're going to actually have a team of professional game designers work on and create into a game. So congratulations, Grace. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Tyler, you were selected as the top game.
Yes! Thank you! Thank you!
They're gonna make your video game.
Really?
Awesome!
Really?
Awesome.
Tyler, welcome to the Celebration of Young Game Designers Game Jam Weekend.
Hi, Grace.
Hi.
So this is Brian. He's a professional game designer. He's going to be working with you on your game. Take it away, Brian.
We're going to be doing what's usually referred to as a game jam, which is basically a very short 2 to 3 day, usually within 48 hours, just a quick prototyping session.
Game jams are a thing that happen throughout the year, throughout the country, throughout the world, that people come together and they literally have a few days and they have to come up and make a game, and they just work to do it for fun a lot of the times.
Alexia and Marita are gonna ask you some questions about your game, and those answers they're gonna take back to their team that's gonna start working on your game tonight. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Let us know more about your idea, anything you want us to know about it.
Well, I haven't really thought about it that much. I got 1,000 things going on in my head. This is the biggest, but of course, I'm like that. But
that's definitely normal for game design. There's always so many ideas.
Do you have any questions for Grace for her vision about her design?
Oh, sure. In like the character list, there's the main characters, and then there might be minor characters like Blur, the antagonist. And the last item on that list is Dream Bees. And I think it's the only place it mentions it. So I was just curious what you had in mind for that.
To be honest, they weren't really a concept before this. They carry these little baskets, and what they do is they spread around this dream pollen, and it sort of makes it just more pleasant.
I would love to hear more about, like, what do you think the Rem Knight could do, and what can Morpheus do?
I was thinking, like, when he unlocks it, the key and stepping stool and the cloud barriers. They're like big pink cloud like walls that kind of like walk around towards him. Maybe he could have some sort of like a fan that kind of helps him sweep him away or something.
I doodled the dream bee while we were talking.
Oh, cool.
That's basically what it looks like. It carries this little basket.
Thank you.
From the last time that we talked, we've been working really hard on getting your game into the world. So we have some stuff to show you.
So yesterday we all met with the team. We sort of left comments on stuff that we had to discuss how we're going to go about it. So we used something called Figma to make these diagrams of, going from one screen to another.
I didn't really know that there were programs that did, like, you can make diagrams like this.
Oh yeah, so you could actually just go to this website and start playing around with it.
One of the very first things we did was we drew Rem Knight standing. And usually when you're standing, you're not just standing still, you're breathing too. Here's what he looks like when he walks to the side.
I like how he kind of like puts his arms in front of him like he's the judge of the whole entire place.
Something our artists used. This is called a mood board, where they throw together a bunch of art inspirations and color palette stuff. We're about halfway through, so there's lots of stuff that's not finished yet. So just be aware that what you're about to see is going to look very different from what we're seeing tomorrow.
And you
And
can
if you-
see that it no longer looks like the old graphic of Rem Knight, and that's because it's still a placeholder graphic, which the programmers will use to test to make sure that the collision, essentially when it touches a box, is working properly.
Here's the placeholder for the intro cutscene. These are going to be replaced with character art, and it's going to be like slightly moving and stuff.
It's interesting to see this all just jump out of nowhere from like a day or two. Like you come back and oh, it's all here.
A lot of games, they take years of work, of many hours daily, all doing work. So a lot of the challenge with a game jam is you only have a few days and you're trying to do essentially as much as you can to get that working. So based on that though, we were able to complete the initial game, and we would love for you to play it. You actually can play it. It's playable. So I'm gonna send you a link.
Wow. This is the game?
Yeah, so this
This is awesome. I love this.
So here's your first puzzle.
The team had a lot of fun working on it. We really liked the game concept. We have a basic intro cutscene.
Is that the beast?
Yeah, these are the dream bees flying around. Let's use her special. That battle, then this battle, and then the last battle, which is the final boss. And then after that, there's an ending cutscene. It was a good concept, good story, and I don't know what else to say. We had a lot of fun.
It's very nice to see all this stuff that I wrote down just watching it. It's very unusual. I really like the V design.
Yeah, they're really good.
Oh my
going right
god.
through this.
Look at this.
That's one way to do it. There you go.
Wow. I really loved it. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing any of this.
Well, thank you for your idea. Your name is in the credits.
Wow.
Yeah, you get to say you made a game, and it's there, and people could play
I
it.
made a game. I just got my own video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can now play a video game I invented
Yeah.
on my mom's computer because I'm working on it. I'm going to be spending the next couple of hours making another one, probably.
Wow, those were just awesome. Alexia and Brian, thanks so much for heading up those teams and making these games. And I just, it'd be awesome if we could put the link to both of the games in the chat, because all of you at home can go visit these links and you can play these games for free right now and for forever past this. So it's really exciting. These games are out in the world right now, and you can play them, your friends can play them, and anybody who's interested in game design or even just video games, please send these around and show them that next time around, if they can submit a video game, maybe they can get their game made. So I have an important announcement. The results are in, and the people have spoken, and we have a theme for next year. So you can get ready to put on your thinking caps and start coming up with ideas right now. The theme for CYGD 2022 will be nature. Just like what's outside this window, and so you can decide how to interpret that however you'd like, but that's going to be the theme. So now I'd like to come back to the Game Jam weekend, because for people who aren't familiar with the game design world, this might be something that you haven't heard of before. Maybe you've heard of a hackathon, which is kind of similar to a game jam. But one thing we as a committee wanted to do and make sure that we portrayed was making games is really, really hard, and it takes a lot of people and it takes a lot of time. So the fact that our talented developers were able to put a game together in a weekend like this, it's really difficult, and it takes a whole team to make it happen. So Brian, I would just love if you could just kind of outline your team, for example, and what kind of roles you had, alongside you to create the game on the Game Jam weekend.
Sure, yeah. We had 6 people on our team. There was myself. I worked on design and programming, and I split that work up with Olivia. And she worked on programming and design and some writing. On the art side, we had GJ, who worked on environment art and user interface art and all the special effects that happen when certain actions in the game happened. And on the other side of that, we had Laura working on character designs and character illustrations. And on the audio side of things, we had Calvert working on music composition, who worked closely with Jake, who worked on all the sound effects and the voice effects. So across 6 people in a very short amount of time, it took a lot of coordination and a lot of different people like contributing each of their own skills. And yeah, it's quite a process. And I know Alexia's team was structured pretty similarly.
Oh, cool. Yeah. No, thanks for that, Brian. I think it's helpful for people to just know, how many people it really takes. And, in this short game jam environment, we only use individual people. We don't usually build out our teams or programming teams because the communication in such a short amount of time can, kind of get lost in translation sometimes. So, we've all participated in game jams before. This one was a little bit different, not only because of, quarantine, but Alexia, can you kind of tell me maybe what was different about this particular CYGD game jam compared to maybe other game jams you've done in the past?
Yeah, I mean, this one, what makes it so unique is that element of having a student essentially come up with the concept and then the team essentially works off of that concept. So normally in a game jam, the main team would be the ones coming up with the game concept and then making it. Where here we have the student essentially comes up with what would be the design guide or the core from which we're building off of, which is really different because you're essentially trying to work off of someone else's idea, but also working with them to make it come to life, which gives it an additional level of challenge, but also is really rewarding because you get to make something that someone else came up with and cared about and try and really help them turn it into something they really are excited about.
Yeah, it was super collaborative, as you could see through the video we showed earlier with some of your calls you had with the students. I mean, it was almost like a client studio relationship, like a little bit. Obviously, we were working together, but it almost felt like it was like these students commissioned us to make these games or something. Kind of an interesting dynamic. Well, yeah, guys, we're coming close to the end of our show here. I want to remind you to please go check out the games, go play them yourselves. We'd love for you to experience them in the way that, our students really wanted you to see them in. And, before we switch to a little credit video, Brian and Alexia, is there anything else you want to say to the audience here?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to just first off to thank ASAP for the opportunity, thank my teammates for doing such an incredible job, thank the students for all their submissions, and for Tyler, it was a joy to work with. Just in general, this is such a great opportunity and experience, and to encourage anyone who's interested to just try it. Game design is difficult to do professionally, but it's something that anyone could at least start doing if it's something they're excited about, and you can learn a lot from it, even if you just make a small game for fun or make a bunch of games, whatever it is you're really interested in.
That's great. Thanks, Alexia. And thank you too, for participating this year. Brian, you got any final words?
Sure. I mean, ditto to all of that. Thanks to everyone involved. And yeah, we're really excited to see what, new kind of games you all come up with now. And, just from myself and from my team, thank you, Grace. We really enjoyed working on your game idea.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I want to say thanks, to all the same people. Thanks to the ASAP staff. Thanks to our awesome stream tech, Glenn, sitting right over here, making the magic happen behind the camera. Thanks to Kelly Valerius for video editing. And we're going to show slides here of some of the other credits for people involved, including all the awesome developers that worked in the Game Jam weekend. And then I'll be back right after that for a quick goodbye. But please watch the credits. Hey guys, so that's it for the celebration of young game designers, but ASAP is certainly not done. So I'd like to let you know a couple more things that are coming up very soon that we'd love all of you watching to participate in. So coming up next, we have the celebration of young writers, which is now it's open for submissions, K through 12, and the deadline is April 29th. So make sure you come to the website and check out all the details on that. We also want to let you know that the Frank McCourt Prize for Excellence in Teaching is also open for nominations for Connecticut school teachers. The deadline for that is April 15th. We are going to put links for both of these things in the chat. You can also find them on our website, and if for some reason you can't find them there, please feel free to email us. Once again, I'm Andrew Lindy. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. Get out there and play those games and keep designing games, all you students out there, and we'll see you next time.